My first day was so amazing. I felt like I fit right into my character. The whole cast was so kind and fun, and we are all from around the world. And so we had such a great time sharing our different culture. It was so amazing. I started training a bit in Japan, and then Christian and Dog and Ali and I did action training as well. And we got to shoot with real gun. That's very heavy. It's the final chapter. That's a big deal. I'm so excited and can't wait for everyone to see it. It was amazing.
The first day I got there, and they put myself in the set, and I saw everything. It was just, it was amazing. It was a really great moment to from seeing everything from the outside and now being inside this world. And it was just, I can't explain what I felt. It was just, it was very cool. It was a very nice moment. And then when they said action and all the shooting going on and zombies and everything, it was very fun. It was very different from every other movie or every other job that I've done before. It was just, it was a roller coaster from beginning to end. I had so much fun, and I'll do it 100 times again. Something magical happened. As soon as we all met each other, we all liked each other. You know, it was so, it's funny because it was so international. Everybody was from Japan, China, Cuba, Russia, whatever. It was just Australia, London. It's just so international cast. And when you get to the set, you might think people are not gonna get along. And it was the opposite. It was like we all knew each other for a long time. And, for me, it was a very good experience working with such a good group of people and good group of actors, talented. Paul Anderson, he's such a great guy, man. He's such a great man. He's so fun to be around with. So talented, so easy to work with, so down to earth. It's just an amazing person all around. And he's always caring for you. He wants to take the best out of you. He doesn't want you just to go there and do a scene. He wants you to do the best you can and look as good as you can. And he wants to do the best for the movie. So when you work with a director who really cares about what he's doing, you love that. You love that because you feel like you feel protected and you feel someone is watching over you. And that's Paul. Biggest explosions, the more zombies, the more fun. I mean, I saw them all before, and being part of this, not only because I'm part of this, but I think this is the best of all of them. It's so different, man. The production value is completely, it's unbelievable, unbelievable. I was part of it, and I was just the whole time. Instead of thinking about my lines, I was just thinking about, man, this freaking place is so cool. I was, oh man, it was, people have to go see this movie. I had a blast being part of this.
And Doc is this guy who is nominated to be leader by the collective, the group that we've kind of found ourselves with and who we exist with on a day-to-day basis. And there's a little conflict in the group because there's one member in particular who doesn't want Doc to be the leader. And so Michael is his protection. He's his right-hand man. He kind of assists with all the day-to-day kind of running of the group and how we protect ourselves from the zombies. And really, the most important thing for Michael in terms of his relationship with Doc is keeping him alive. I'm used to kind of getting a close bond with actors who you've been working with for 5 or 6 weeks, you know, every single day intensively. And so it's usual that you become very strong with each other and become a unit, you know. But on movies, I think that's much more difficult because it's such kind of short spurts, short stints, you know, where you get to know someone and then they're gone. But we've been really lucky because this company of actors is... you know, we just bonded straight away. Maybe something to do with the humor of people like Ruby Rose and Owen, you know, and William, you know, William Levy, and then also just being led by this wonderful, wonderful warrior of an actress, Mila. What I love about the Resident Evil movies, but in particular this one, and I've got to say, I think this is probably going to be the best of the bunch, just having read it and having seen what we've been doing. But what I think is great about it is that things are resolved. You know, people who need to get theirs, get theirs. And as an audience member, if I'm sitting in the audience and I'm looking at this movie and I'm seeing action, the action's fantastic. The storyline is great because you're moving, progressing through the movie and you can see the elements of the game, but it's not driven by the game.
It isn't a straight horror movie. It isn't a traditional zombie movie. It has a fantastical element, a sci-fi element. I think Paul introducing the character of Alice, Mila Jovovich, made it different to the game, so that when you go to see one of these movies, you don't just have to be a fan of the game to enjoy it. And if you are a fan of the game, you get something extra, which is the character of Alice. I think also we have a good villain in the Umbrella Corporation, the evil and all-powerful corporation. Always a good villain to have that, and totally relatable in the modern world. The story essentially is the journey of Alice to find out who she is, to find out why things were done to her, and for her to take revenge. That is ultimately the principal narrative. In addition to that, there's a sub-narrative, which is that she realizes she can save what's left of humanity. She's a very fierce actress. She can convey focused rage very well. She's a very physical actress. She has tremendous screen charisma. The camera is very drawn to her. She really fills the frame with her personality. So she has everything you want from the start. She's magnetic. This film, as I said, has 3 distinct feelings: the desolate city, the road movie, and then the high-tech sci-fi component. So I think this film, I hope, takes the good environments from the previous films. But one of the things Paul and I always try to deliver to the fans is when they see the first trailer, they must feel like it's a Resident Evil they haven't seen before. I think franchises fall down when the trailer for the sequel comes out and audiences go, oh, that reminds me of the last one. I feel like I've seen that movie. You've got to try to be original whilst giving them something that they're familiar with.
I think Paul Anderson, the director, has written a very brilliant last film in the franchise, in that he kind of brings everything full circle and makes you understand the beginnings of the nightmare, you know, but he gives it a twist. He's co-owner of this bioengineering company that produced biological weapons. And I think initially they were government approved, but it all took a rather sinister turn because of his sick mind. We like to hate a baddie, a well-written baddie, and you know, he's very urbane, he's very uncontrolled. I think he's quite witty in his, you know, devilishness, and he's a kind of, you know, there's so much medical and scientific going on that he's imbued himself with kind of superpowers as well. So he's, you know, he's formidable as a physical force as well. She's just got an amazing face, and is also very, very good at all the physical requirements of the role, which is, you know, which are enormous. She has to learn and execute so many different fights, and has to have so many skills. You know, of course, you use doubles at times for some of the most complicated, most dangerous, but nonetheless, she does the vast majority of it.
One thing that I love about Resident Evil is I feel like, you know, often in Hollywood and often in films, we're craving to have a female protagonist, you know, kick-ass fighter that isn't always relying on a man, that isn't just there as the sidekick to a male superhero or the wife to a you know, male lead. It's got to be like a female-driven role, and there are not very many of them. And then you kind of scratch your head looking for one, and then realize that there's been one all along. You know, Mila's been doing this role for so many years, and she's so much like her character in real life as well. She is an independent, strong, inspiring woman. I've seen everything Mila did. And, you know, even back when she was modeling, you know, she's a force to be reckoned with. And she inspires me, you know, and I knew that she would be amazing, and I knew that she would be super kind, and I kind of had a feeling she had a good sense of humor. I don't know, you know, when you can just kind of sense somebody. But I didn't really anticipate that she would be quite as down to earth and fun and easy to be around. You know, it's like, that's a friend for life. I think the fact that we're in South Africa has given us some amazing locations. I know that a lot of the other films were done in studios. So that already brings a new element to it. I feel like it really makes things extra real when you're battling the elements and you're battling location issues and all those kinds of things. It creates a more raw kind of, you know, experience for everybody. And then I think the fact that he knows it's a final chapter. Mila knows it's a final chapter. Everyone's just putting their heart and soul and blood and guts and tears into it. So it can only be the most epic of all epicness. I have a real thing about zombies, anything with zombies, and I feel like, yeah, I really do. And I feel like Resident really started that, you know, so many years ago. And now there's zombies on TV, and there's zombies on, you know, Netflix, and there's zombies in films. But Resident really kind of started that whole thing, and I feel like we've taken it to a whole new level.
I was very aware of certain aspects of the story that I wanted to tell. If I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to wrap up the franchise, I always knew that that wrap up would be a return to Raccoon City, to the hive, to where everything began. It would be Alice going home and Alice discovering the truth about herself. The woman we met in the first movie suffered from memory loss, and she never got that memory back. So really, she is unaware of who she really is. And I've been aware of who she is throughout the entire franchise, and I've been waiting a long time to wrap things up and tell the audience the truth of who the Alice character is, how that relates to the Red Queen, and what the real agenda of the Umbrella Corporation has been all along. And I think when people discover the answers to those questions, I think they're going to be shocked. I think they're going to be really surprised. And I think they're going to want to rewatch the entire franchise, because what they'll realize is we've known what those answers are throughout. And I think you can watch the franchise all over again and see it in a completely different way when you discover the truth. It's obviously a very bittersweet experience to kind of say goodbye to something that's been such a big part of my life for such a long time. But it's also very exciting to bring everything to a climax and do it in a way and on a scale that I've been allowed to do. This is not a franchise that's ending with a whimper. It's ending with a big, big bang. I think there's imagery in this film that's way beyond anything I've ever put on screen before. It's truly epic visually, but also it's very, very emotional. It's the end of Alice. Mila knows it's all coming to an end, and she really delivered in terms of her performance. There is a giant mutated flying creature that we glimpsed at the end of the last movie that we really deliver in this film. It's one of the high points of the movie is Mila driving and being chased. It's like her versus a flying creature. It's really terrific, terrific scene. Very energized, very, very scary. And the whole, I don't want to give everything away, but the whole movie is peppered with creatures from the franchise. And right from the start of the franchise to the end of the video game franchise, I've taken creatures from pretty much every single one of the video games. I think this is kind of like a creature all-star movie. It's like whatever your favorite creature is, I think the chances are it's in this movie and it's popping out of somewhere unexpected to terrify you. You have returning characters, and Claire Redfield, as played by Ali, is one of the key returning characters in the franchise. And, I think I've always seen Resident Evil as being about two strong women. Right from the very start, Mila was obviously at the heart of the franchise, but there was also Michelle Rodriguez. And I've always liked the camaraderie between two women. I think it plays really well. It's something you don't see in movies very often. Sometimes you see the one strong female, but you rarely see two. And I love Ali because she's different to Mila. She brings something completely different. She's strong, but in a different way to Mila. And Mila has an edge that I think comes from her Russian background, whereas Ali is more all-American. And obviously both of these women, they're in the apocalypse. They're at the end of the world. They're both hardened, but they come from different backgrounds. And I think that's very interesting when you see them interact. Well, I've always seen myself as an international filmmaker. I mean, I've never been an American filmmaker. I certainly don't see myself as a British filmmaker. I've made movies that have been financed and play around the world. I've seen myself as a global filmmaker, I think, right from the very start. My very first movie with Jude Law, Shopping, it was set in the UK, but it was partly financed by a Japanese company. So I've always been very aware of my movies being watched by an international audience. And also we're dealing with the end of the world, and it's the whole world that's ending. It's not just North America. And I always feel like that should be represented, and that's why I like drawing actors from different parts of the world. I think it really delivers on several levels. One is just the sheer spectacle of it. I'm very confident that the action and the scale and the imagery that we've put on screen here, it's the biggest in the franchise. And not just the biggest in this franchise, it's the biggest in any movie I've ever made. I'm super happy with it. But I think we combine that scale with a level of emotion and sophistication that we've never had in the franchise before.
The thing about this that really makes it different is that it's an action movie too, and we're doing stunts, and we are keeping up with the guys, if not doing it better. And so, you know, we're in there and we learn it, and I watch Mila, who blows my mind with her doing these stunts. She is incredible. And not only is she physical, she's like graceful when she does it. She's amazing at it. So that's, to me, I think what makes this movie different is that, yeah, they're strong female characters, but we're also, you know, incredibly physical, and it's stunt and action oriented. Yeah, I mean, it's the passion for playing her, you know? It's that she knows that it's about like the stunts and getting in there, and then also knowing this character that's trying to figure out her past and put the pieces together of that puzzle and constantly driving forward. And it's like she keeps with that energy and that, you know, always questioning and always asking to push it forward. No, it's really wonderful to be able to have that, and I feel so lucky that they always bring me back, you know? I love playing Claire Redfield, and I love that the fans are so excited. Like, that to me is, like, makes me giddy, because, you know, I do all different kinds of movies, I play different kinds of roles, but playing Claire Redfield may be one of, like, the ones that people, one of their favorites. I think Resident Evil: The Final Chapter will surpass all the ones before. I think it encapsulates excitement, fear, maybe a little bit of love, power, and I think that you're gonna get to see all your favorites again.
She's just by far one of the sweetest people I've ever met, and super supportive. She'll stay around even though she's not in any of the scenes and she's been wrapped. She's there, supportive, behind the monitor, and always giving great compliments. And she's one of the sweetest people ever. I love her to bits. The visuals in this movie series is unlike anything else. So I think it's almost like going on an amusement park ride, as it is. It's an experience watching these movies, and there's always the awe and the shock and the surprise. So I think bringing the audience through a range of emotions while watching these movies is sort of the fun, and which keeps people coming back for more. Because this is such a big franchise, and the story is so big, it's nice to be able to show that epic scale, and I think it's definitely been represented in this one.
I was a fan of the franchise, and that was because I played the very first computer game, and it scared the crap out of me. And it was one of those ones where I actually had to turn off the sound just to get past like certain points in the house when like the werewolves would jump at you, and then like the dogs and the zombies, and I just couldn't. You couldn't do it with the music at the same time because it was just too much. So Resident Evil was always synonymous for me with playing a computer game that I couldn't finish because it was just too much. There's like this group of I guess you call them survivalists in an apocalyptic world, and like everyone is dead, and they're just trying to, you know, they're like this band of disparate kind of people who are almost feral in a way, and they're just about being kept together by Doc and Claire, and Doc's the leader of this kind of gang, and they're kind of, you know, surrounded by death and destruction and zombies, and they're just about staying alive with like hardly any food or water or sun or anything, and so he's just about keeping this group of people together. Paul's just like a big kid having fun, and he's like I want to blow up this building, and I want this zombie to now turn into a bat, and then I want this to happen, and then he just goes to get, and he gets to go and do it, and he does it with his wife, and he gets to have fun. And when you're on set, it's like you could be doing, you're doing a 16-hour day, he's doing a 20-hour day, and he is always happy, and he's always enthusiastic, and he makes you go, even if it's like freezing cold and you're coming out of a lake or it's nighttime, you're like, I can't be in a bad mood because Paul is so excited, therefore this is awesome. And even if he's making you do, you're running for 55 takes through this decrepit, dusty place, and it's horrible, and your feet are sore, and it's wet. He's like, that was great, let's do it again! And he's also happy, you're like, we have to do this again, it's awesome, Paul's happy. So yeah, he just makes it fun. I think because this was going to be the last movie in the franchise and they wanted it to go to bang, I think Paul and Mila just decided to let loose with, as, you know, with his crazy, the most crazy possible things they could. And he just went all out, guns blaring, or from the start with this movie, it's all action. It's like, it kind of reminds me in a little bit the way Mad Max is, whereby it goes on this journey that doesn't stop, and it's incessant, and it's like this cool road movie. It's like a road movie with zombies, with heart, and yet you already know the story and trying to figure out, can they actually get to the end of the story and stop the whole thing in the first place. So it's just like, it's a roller coaster of just like intense, violent, scary action.
So, you know, coming back to the world of Resident Evil after, you know, kind of a 3-year hiatus was just so fun and super exciting, and I loved the script, and you know, I loved going back to fill Alice's shoes again, because she's kind of the best of me. She's, you know, when I imagine, like, what would I do in a survival situation or in an emergency, it's like I become Alice, and regardless, in reality, I'd probably go, oh my God, no! But in my head, you know, I become Alice, so in a way, she's my hero as well, and I feel like as long as she remains my hero, you know, she'll be a hero for other people too. You know, it's quite amazing to think that that Resident Evil is going to its 6th installment. It's literally the longest-running female-driven action franchise ever made up to this point. So it's inspiring to know that it's resonated so much with audiences, and they've wanted to come back to the Resident Evil world over and over again and see the adventures of people they know and love. Alice is, you know, coming back above ground from some insane battle that's happened between the last film and the new installment. And, you know, in the beginning of the movie, she comes out from underground to a completely desolate Washington, D.C. So, you know, when that battle from the end of Afterlife happened, it's just devastated everything. And it feels like she's pretty much the only survivor. And from that point onward, it's non-stop. Well, Ali Larder plays Claire Redfield, one of the most popular characters from the game. And, you know, it's been great. Ali has done 3 films with us at this point, and she's just an incredible actress and really brings so much life to Claire, and has really done her justice, in my opinion. This movie, in my opinion, is the best in the franchise. I mean, there's so many incredible stunts. The actors are so amazing. You know, the story is riveting, and you find out things about Alice and the Umbrella Corporation that you never knew. And, You know, I think there's so many secrets that are revealed. It really brings the whole franchise to this amazing closure that I think the audience is gonna love.